Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Downton Dish. I'm Marlise.
And I'm Elise.
And this week we're going to be dishing about Downton Abbey, Season 5, Episode 6.
It was such a good episode.
It was so good, and there's so much to talk about.
Yes.
But you know, we've been receiving a lot of mail and messages from fans saying they're watching the Downton Dish while enjoying tea and scones.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Isn't that civilized? So I thought we'd try something a little different this week. How about we take the episode into the kitchen, bake some scones, have some tea, and dish about Downton.
Into the kitchen?
Yeah, going downstairs.
Okay. How do we get there?
How do we get there? Oh my God! I'm Mrs. Patmore! Mrs. Patmore!
That makes me Daisy.
Yes, it does. Daisy, let's get going! Okay, what does it say? We're going to make Downton scones, organic scone mix. Okay, and we're going to dish about what happened this week on the show.
Empty, mix into medium bowl. With a pastry blender, fork or fingertips, work in margarine.
You don't want my fingertips in the dough, so I'm going to use the suggested pastry cut, and she's going to cut the butter. And we're going to talk about Edith. Poor Edith. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Elise has put the butter into the flour mix, and I'm going to use the pastry cutter and start mashing away. Apparently, the show begins with Edith receiving a telegram that Gregson is in fact dead.
It's not good. I mean, she's in a sulk when the show begins, and then the sulk just continues and gets worse.
No. And the family doesn't seem very sympathetic.
No, but here's the thing. Again, she hasn't been honest with them. She hasn't come out and said,
That's true.
I've borne his child. Or all they know is that this man who was seeing Edith is now gone. He's been gone for over a year.
Over a year.
So they don't really know why she's quite as dramatic, except that she has never had another beau.
But I love Lady Mary's line.
But what did she think he was doing? Living in a tree?
Not a lot of sympathy for Edith.
No,
I don't know.
but she does. I mean, she does pitch her little hissy fits too. So
She does.
it was a hard episode because you wanted to really, really feel for her. But as it went through and as the episode continues and she does what she does, I was really a little angry with her.
You were?
Oh, when she's taking Marigold away from poor Margie.
Oh, so she goes to the Drews to take Marigold because she's had it. She's had enough of the family. Nobody's supporting her in this. She goes and she finally takes little Marigold away. And it was a heartbreaking scene.
Don't be afraid, my darling. This nice lady is your new mummy.
Mrs. Drew, Margie, went and gave her the teddy.
Oh my
I lost
God.
it. And it was just, she won't sleep else. And like,
And she's crying. It broke my heart.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
to know
God.
how that mother must feel because her husband lied to her too to get Marigold into the household.
He wrote the letter saying that the
it was just
supposed-
heartbreaking
I
all the way
know.
around.
It
So
was heartbreaking.
Poor
Edith.
Poor
And she
Edith.
takes Marigold and she's off to London where they check into a suite and she's going to order champagne and ice cream. So we can't wait to see what's going to happen there. What else do I need to add to this?
We add 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of milk.
And then
Mix it up.
mix it together. I feel like Daisy. Make sure that you get all the loose powder, the loose flour down at the bottom. So just mix it all up. And you want it nice and coarse. That's a really good scone mix, is kept nice and coarse like that. So what about Lord Grantham?
Oh, he's like a petulant little boy.
I mean, still has attitude because
Get a grip.
Cora was caught in the bedroom with Bricker. Okay, I know it looked
Yeah.
bad, but still, he's like a little child and has gone off to another room to sleep until she comes in to tell him.
If you can honestly say you have never let a flirtation get out of hand since we married, if you have never given a woman the wrong impression, then by all means, stay away. Otherwise, I expect you back in my room tonight.
And I remember a few seasons ago when there was a certain incident with a maid.
Remember the maid? I remember the maid.
And I think he remembered it too because he got back into her bedroom.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So I was happy to see them reconcile.
Exactly. So now I'm going to pour this dough. It's all nice and dry and crumbly, so hopefully that's what it's supposed to look like. And onto a board. And I'm going to put a little flour here so that it doesn't stick to the board, all right? Because we're going to roll it out. Now it's all dry and crumbly, but I think the idea is that you're going to mush it together and form a little ball. And speaking of round little dough balls, how about Barrow?
Oh, snap. I felt really bad for him this time.
Again, we're feeling bad for him. So he finally reaches out to Baxter for help.
After Baxter knows that he's done a little dirty deed and ratted her out to the police.
Exactly, and how good is she? I mean, she's still standing up for him and helping him.
Yes, and takes him to the doctor.
Takes him to Dr. Clarkson.
Has him gather all his paraphernalia, takes him to the doctor, and we find out that he's paid a lot of money for some kind of cure to make him more like other men.
Yes, and he's been injecting saline into his
not,
body. Which is harmless,
sterile.
But the needles weren't sterilized, so
he got an infection, and that's why he's looked so awful.
Exactly.
And to hear that, he's been taken for a mug again, he said, and so he doesn't have luck with money or love.
No,
so,
and it's kind of sad because what he's doing is he's trying to get therapy and treatment to change him and make him more like other men, which is really like what The Imitation Game is about with Alan Turing, who went through electrotherapy in the same way that Barrow did. So this was an issue back then.
It was, and
it was really tragic and really, really sad.
And the doctor too said,
my advice to you, Thomas, would be to accept the burden that chance has seen fit to lay upon you, and to fashion as good a life as you're able. Remember, harsh reality is always better than false hope.
But he's got a friend in Baxter, apparently.
She's really a good person.
She is a good person.
And when she is questioned by the police, it comes out in front of Mrs. Hughes that she has this record for theft.
Yes, the inspector comes back to interview her.
And she's almost relieved because now everybody who needs to know knows.
It's out
her
in the
story's
open.
out there. Mrs. Hughes says, does her ladyship know? She says yes.
And then we'll say
It's
no
dropped.
more about it.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
Mrs. Hughes, another really good person.
Let's talk about Mr. Bates and Anna.
Oh, they finally have the talk.
So she loses her button box. She leaves it back home.
There's a metaphor.
Sends him in search of the button box. But he finds something else. He finds Mary Stopes' book on married
And a little
love.
contraption.
And a contraption. So he confronts Anna.
It's quite simple. To avoid bearing my child.
How can you believe that? When it's all I've ever dreamed of.
Because you think I'm a murderer.
So it finally comes out. He did not kill Green, says he.
Says he, because he has the ticket and they talk about the ticket.
The ticket.
And what if there's a second ticket? What if he bought 2 tickets?
He thinks there's a second ticket.
There could be a second ticket.
Well,
I don't know.
His story is that he went to York and he bought the return ticket to London because he was going to go in search of Green to kill him.
Yes.
But then he thought he couldn't do that to Anna, and he's standing on the platform and he decides against it. But he keeps the ticket, the untorn ticket, in his pocket
as a talisman.
Exactly, and proof that he didn't go anywhere. He stayed in York.
Yes. So
And-
Anna is deliriously happy because she thinks it might have been him because he's a little dodgy.
So now she's extremely happy, so happy she can cry.
Yes.
Which tells me that
Anna didn't do it
she
either.
didn't do it either. Okay, do you want to know what I've been doing to the dough?
What have you been
Would
doing?
you like to know what I've been doing to the dough? So I've just been forming it into a little round disc on the thing. So you could do it with your hands. You could actually flatten it out to your desired thickness, or you can use your rolling pin. This is my mother's rolling pin.
That's sweet.
I've had this since, she's had this since forever. And so, thanks, Mom. Mom's there. Thank you, Mom. It's like Gilman. So anyway, so roll out your dough to about a 1/4 inch thickness. And then I'm gonna dip my cutter into some flour so that it doesn't stick to the dough. And then you just cut, separate from the rest, and there's your little scone right there. What does it say it yields?
8 triangular, light, tender scones. Or 10 to 12 round scones.
Okay, so so we're gonna have slightly bigger scones.
I like big scones and I cannot lie.
Okay, so I'm gonna see how many I can get out of this dough ball. Okay, so but how about we talk about the Dowager and Prince Koragin.
Oh, goodness. And we find out this week his name is Igor.
Igor says, I love you more than mortal man ever loved woman.
It was really romantic. She really kept her composure, though.
She
Goodness.
did, but you know, we find out all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
You think to be unhappy in a marriage is ill-bred.
You do know me, Igor. That I must concede.
One of my favorite parts with the Dowager, though,
Yes.
is the Dowager and Spratt and Denker.
Oh my God.
Spratt barges in while she's with Isabel to talk about
He's
washing
so
her
prissy.
underpants. But it's so, I mean, she said you've lost all sense of occasion. You've lost all sense
Exactly.
of what, what's fit. And it's true. And then Isabel said, well, I'm enjoying this immensely. And you could see it. It was so uncomfortable for the poor Dowager to have these problems with the
He
staff.
says because the maid won't wash your things.
Yes, your small items.
Your small items. Oh my
So
gosh.
we're going to see some fireworks between Spratt and Denker.
I know, I think so. So now the next step is we're going to put it on our baking pan. And I like to put parchment paper on this is parchment paper, by the way, Elise. It's what you put on your pans when you want to bake.
I'll go get a pen and write a letter.
And it doesn't say to brush it with an egg wash, does it?
No.
Because I like to do that because when you brush it with an egg wash, then that's Elise's contribution right there.
There we go.
Okay, so these are ready to go into the oven
At 425
at 425.
for 14 to 16 minutes.
Okay, so here they go into the oven. Into the oven they
Are
go.
they done yet?
Excuse me.
Are they done yet? Are they done?
Don't back up because you're going to get burned.
I'm having a flash.
Ooh, it's hot in there. At 425.
Speaking of hot stuff, Lady Mary and her new hairdo.
Thank you. You've made me feel very strong.
She goes to the faux French hairdresser
Oh,
in
the
York.
fake accent. Oh my gosh.
Which was a hysterical scene.
At least you can carry it off. Most of them look like bald monkeys.
So yeah, so much to see what's going to happen to Lord Gillingham and Mabel and Charles
Yes.
and Mary. Do you think she's going to end up with Charles after all?
I don't know. I don't know. But I
Wow.
think we had a little revelation with Isabel this week. She really is going to accept Lord Merton. So I can't wait for that scene. I hope they have a scene about that next week.
No, do you think they're going to all have love interests and love stories?
And speaking of love stories,
Lady Rose.
Yes.
Lady Rose.
And
we
Atticus.
finally meet Lord and Lady Cinderby.
Cinderby, yes. And they're wonderful, and they're coming to Downton to dinner, so I hope we see that next
I
week.
love when Isabel tells the Dowager, well, she's not going to be expected to convert. It's not like Catholicism, and she says, convert to what?
Yes.
And she says, well, Judaism, because he's a leading...
Figure in the Jewish community.
Exactly.
Yes.
Dowager says,
There's always something, isn't there?
We have Mrs. Patmore and her
Patmore.
inheritance going out to see her cottage.
Yes.
And Mr. Carson sort of extends the olive branch and offers to come and see the cottage with the ladies, with Mrs. Hughes and
with
Mrs.
Mrs.
Patmore.
Hughes. But before they do, he makes a proposition to Mrs. Hughes.
Oh, at the very end.
Yes, that's right. And he says, how would you like to go in on a property together?
Investments.
Isn't
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes,
leading?
talk about baby steps. He needs a little push.
She gets all sort of giggly
Yes.
inside, and I love when she tells him, "Oh, get on
Yeah,
with
she's
you."
all agog.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll see if they go and get a little cottage together.
Yes,
Should we
better.
check the scones? I
think
I'm
it's
smelling
time.
them, and they smell delicious.
I'm ready. Yay.
I've got my handy dandy pot holders from Harrods. Oh, they're very golden brown indeed, and I didn't even put
Nice.
an egg wash on them. Okay, there we go. So you cut it in half. It's very moist on the inside. That
yeah.
looks actually very nice.
Yeah, I don't even have a knife.
So let's see, are we good enough to work in the Downton kitchen? What do you think?
They're really good.
Very good. I think when Daisy goes off on her new career,
And Mrs. Patmore retires?
exactly, I think we can take over the Downton downstairs. So this was fun. This was a fun episode to do.
Yeah, it
Philly.
was.
Exciting.
A new experience. But I really think I'm much more comfortable upstairs. Could we go back upstairs? Just not. Just not.
Okay.
Put down the scone and let's do the magic.
Okay.
Can you do the loop? Well, I've got to say, I like the scones being brought to me on a nice silver tray.
I know. How about we do comments, questions, and tweets?
Would you like to begin?
I will begin. I have Lucy, aka Mrs. Darcy, love the name, from Twitter, at I Have Fine Eyes. I think Atticus looks like Prince William, don't you? I do. I said that last week.
Yeah, I thought he looked a little like Ben Cross earlier, but I don't know anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
He's
It was the
very
hat.
handsome. Whatever he's doing, keep doing it.
Deb Sexton, love the Downton Dish and watch it each week. You ladies are such a delight to watch. Love the outfits. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a good time looking for something to wear
We
every
do.
week. Delphine, we love Delphine. Delphine at Elena Rain. She stops to watch Downton Dish every Monday. She's addicted. She says, fortunately, we have Outlandish after Downton Dish finishes.
That's true.
That's
Can't wait for that to begin.
After Downton Dish, we're going to do an Outlander-themed dish show called Outlandish. So you have to join for that one.
Yes, Devon. Love your show, exactly what I need, a post-Downton discussion. But what I love best are your accessories, especially the diamond headpieces. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
If only they were diamonds.
If only.
But thank you.
You know what? Keep tuning in because there might be an opportunity for you all to acquire the fashions that you see on the Downton Dish. We'll let you know in an episode coming up. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Okay, from @RobinBird79, Almost Crazy Mommy, says, I can't believe that Drew woman hasn't noticed that Marigold looks exactly like Edith. She just needs to take her already. So you got your wish because that's exactly what happened in this episode. And she said, nice left hook, donk. He's not going to live that name down, donk.
No, no. Matthew Darby says, well done, ladies, but don't you think Miss Bunting could come back? No.
No. Okay, Kathy Granger. The Downton Dish this evening was wonderful Scottish scones slathered in butter, strawberry jam, and of course a hot cup of tea is how she watched the Downton Dish. Love the episode. She loved it so much that her son had to come in and watch Downton Dish with her.
Oh, fun.
She loves it. So thank you so much for watching. And now shall we give away the orange marmalade?
Yes.
It's the marmalade.
Yes.
Where's the marmalade?
I will shake. And you can choose.
Oh, here we go. It's Valdis Longbear at Me News Valdis. Longtime fan and follower of the Anglophile channel.
Don't get marmalade in your beard.
And what are we giving away this week?
Well, this week, we've got the scone mix.
The very same scone mix that we just made in the downstairs kitchen. And this scone mix can be yours by leaving a comment below this video or tweet us at #DowntonDish or #TheDowntonDish, as long as you put the hashtag so we can find you. And give us your comments, questions, what you think of the show, and your name will go in the teapot to win this scone mix for next week. So join us here each week.
Monday morning at 9 a.m.
I'm Marlise.
And I'm Elise.
And you've been watching
The Downton Dish.
Party on, Elise.
Party on, Marlise.
I like big scones and I cannot lie.